last thing before we get out of here, you think it was Joe Flynn who threw this out there?
Might have been. If it wasn't, I mean, he was part of it. So if someone else
apologies
started it,
if we're not giving. I didn't look at this. You saw this.
I happened to see it on my timeline.
So the query was, if we guaranteed ourselves Masai Ujiri in a year?
Yeah, the idea of if Masai were to come to the Knicks, would you have been willing to stick it out,
stomach another year and a half
Mills Perry for another year? Do you want me to start? Well, you think?
Yeah, the fact that I even have to think about this is actually, I feel like it's undermining my credibility as a basketball, whatever I am. Because the obvious answer is you should stick out 5 years of Steve Mills if you get if you get Masai Ujiri, because it's proof of concept. He's the best in the business.
So you would have done it.
No, but the fact that I'm sitting here wallowing, and the reason I'm sitting here wallowing is because, and again, we have not brought this guy's name up a lot in the last 9 months, and I love that James Dolan exists, and he's a person that theoretically Leon Rose has a handle on how to cajole. This is the first word that came to my mind. I'm sorry if that was an inappropriate one. And so that's like one whole thing in its own category. And then there's the fact that Leon Rose went and hired like an incredibly competent and diligent front office and coaching staff and seems to know what the fuck he's doing. And he's done a really good job. So when you put those two things together, it actually makes me want to go against I just don't know that I would have had another year. I think I might have been driven to drink much harder than I do if I had to deal with another year and a half of Steve Mills. So I would say, I can't believe I'm going to say this. No, I would not. I would not have.
You wouldn't have stuck it out.
I mean, I'll be a Knick fan until I'm
right, but I meant necessarily
old and gray. But
if you had the option of other versus Mills to the Masai, Masai, I guess in this case.
I'm happy with where the fuck we're at. Whether it's Kool-Aid or otherwise, I legitimately cannot. Yeah, I shouldn't say can't look at a single thing. Like the Dotson thing is always going to annoy me, but that's a me thing. I can't look at a single thing they've done in 9 months and been like, "What are you doing?" It's all made sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Leon Rose, you're my guy, man.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I would have hated it. Absolutely hated it.
You would have hated it. Wow. Okay.
Because the idea is, I mean, let's think about this, right? At the trade deadline, though. Of course it's Masai. But there are other executives that are out there. And I'll get to Leon in a second. I get it. He's great. And hey, this is coming from someone who even thought of, I would trade, 2 first round picks for Masai.
Give away all the picks.
Sure. But here's the thing in terms of Steve Mills. This was a man who was just the purest definition of desperation you could ever imagine.
Oh, goodness.
What does this team look like with all of its cap space this year, right? The idea of, at the deadline, he wanted to keep Marcus Morris in the hopes of re-signing him, or the fact that he was trying to get D'Angelo Russell, or the fact that he was doing anything else or could be capable of doing anything else, right? Because there's this also idea of, well, maybe Dolan just says, keep it to a year. And it's like, okay, well, hold on. Let me get this straight. So it's a problem before when Dolan interjects, but now it's acceptable. It's kind of like pick a lane. If you want him to stay away from basketball, have him stay away, but don't have him come in when it's convenient. And also don't be upset if it backfires because you're asking for his voice now. With Steve Mills, the idea of having to open up all this cap space and not even try to do anything with like Batum, it just didn't work out, right? We know that eventually it crumbled. The Knicks are probably not even considering that option. And we know that because the rumor is that they weren't even considering taking on Andre Iguodala for the Warriors' first round pick. So it would have just been, how are we going to get better? And how can I save my job? Versus, okay, well, what works long term? What is the plan? Right now with Leon Rose, he can do anything. And the reason he can do anything is because it's his first year on the job. He just has to show an upward trend. With Steve Mills, it would be a disaster. And you're looking at like Gallinari coming back, right? Something like that, because it's a bigger offer. Or Gordon Hayward signed to the Hornets contract.
I think it would have been the Hayward. I think it would have been a Hayward max.
Right.
I'm just picturing the news conference that would have happened at the end of last season. Like, we feel great about where things are headed. We went 17-27 under Mike Miller. We're on the right track. Man.
And that's infuriating. And I'm glad we're not in that time zone and time frame. I don't have with Leon. I get that it's concerning. I don't totally understand why people may feel that way, just based on the fact that it seems like there is a coherent plan and that they've played 7 games since he officially started on March 2nd. If that, no, probably 3 or 4. So it just needs time. I'm eager to see what's ahead, but sacrificing this year in an ass backwards way where it would have been a guy like Hayward, but then other players too, other veterans, where they would have tried to make this cockamamie fake good team that would have just bottomed out with, a lower pick and wouldn't be fun to watch. And you'd say, well, they could trade these players eventually, but it's not fun with a ceiling that's
you're
low.
Right. You're right.
It would have been a headache. And we got out of that. And by getting out of that, I mean, trading Tim Hardaway Jr., which, mind you, was an expensive contract with a trade kicker that was overpriced. And Gordon Hayward just got $30 million a year and a 15% trade kicker. So I'm just glad. I'm happy that things are the way they are. No, hopefully they're even brighter, but I don't think it's too much to ask about wanting something better than the Steve Mills agenda.
You know what? With our luck, Mills would have been kept around, and we would have it would have gotten fucked up because it always gets fucked up, and we would have had a great pick in the 2021 draft, and agents would have been climbing all over themselves to keep their clients away from this team. And now I could legitimately sit here and say, I think there's a real possibility of a world 7 months from now or 8 months from now, whenever the hell the draft is going to be, where agents are like, man, we could go to Cleveland or Detroit or Minnesota. Well, actually, no, not Minnesota, because Golden State owns their pick.
Probably not.
No, it's top 3.
They
top
could.
3. It could be Minnesota, whatever. Or we could go to the Knicks, who finally have their shit together. Not good yet, but they finally have their shit together. That's a real possibility now, and that's exciting to me. It's exciting to you. And fuck it, baby. Let's play a game. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.